If you have to ask, you already know. Mic drop. We trust others more than we trust ourselves. Your pace, your style, your way of doing things, even if it's a little unconventional, is still valid and right. Hey everyone, and welcome back to the Self-Powered Podcast. I'm your host Mandy, and today I want to talk about something that's been on my mind for a while now. And that is the process of finding your way back to your own voice and learning to trust yourself again, especially in a world that is constantly telling you how things should be done. If you're anything like me, and since you are listening to this kind of content, it's probably safe to assume that you are, you've probably also spent hours and maybe even years consuming advice. Trying to follow the steps, trying to get it right, trying to be efficient, strategic, successful, joyful, peaceful, all of the above. And while I will always advocate for learning and pushing yourself to new heights, I've found that too many external voices can alienate you from your own wisdom, and it becomes hard to hear your own thoughts when the world is so loud with theirs. This episode is for anyone who's ever found themselves doubting what they feel deep down is right, simply because someone else said otherwise. Ready? Let's get into it. I'm someone who genuinely loves learning. I'll binge podcasts, take courses, read the books, and study all the strategies. And just like everyone else, I want to do well in life. And for a very long time, I thought that meant soaking up what others have done and in the process disregarding my own gut feeling. And I have seen this in so many of my clients lately too. And what I've realized through those conversations is that what it comes down to is that we trust others more than we trust ourselves. I mean, when a successful person has an idea, we think, oh, that's amazing. But if we had that same idea first, we often dismiss it as unrealistic or stupid. We think we cannot have the right answers, so we dismiss it and go looking for better ideas outside of us. And at this point, I just want to ask you to see this in the context that it's intended. I mean, sometimes we don't know something or we are stuck and can't help ourselves get out of it. Then, of course, reach out, ask for help and learn. We will never have all the answers. But what I'm talking about is putting other people's voices above your own and forcing yourself to be and do things that don't feel aligned and that eventually drain you. Often, and you might recognize this in yourself, when we don't consider ourselves experts in something, we often completely shut off our own intelligence and think that what someone else says must be law. But that's just not true. I always think if there was one right way of doing something, there would only be one book on that topic. The fact that there are usually thousands of books on one specific topic also means that there are 1,000 different ways of doing something and accomplishing the same outcome. So you can still take advice and modify it in a way that suits your natural strengths and personality. I mean, when I look back on certain decisions I've made in my life and paths I've gone down where I just did it because I thought I was supposed to and not because it excited me or felt right, it usually fell flat or it was massively exhausting to get through. I know it takes courage to go off the beaten track because when it goes wrong, you don't have the luxury of blaming someone else. But it really is worth it because it's so much more fun when you do what is in alignment with who you are. So my point is, when something doesn't feel quite right, there is a very high probability that it isn't. Here's a very small, and I admit, very simple example, but I do think it illustrates the point I'm trying to make. I recently made a graphic to promote a workshop, and I applied everything I know about marketing, which admittedly isn't a lot, but the basics were there. It had urgency, clarity, short copy, bold visuals, music, call to action, the whole shebang. So it was technically sound. But when I looked at it, I kept shifting back and forth between thinking, it's what it should be, it's all good, and absolutely hating it. So I decided to send it to my friend and said, I'm not sure if I like this, what do you think? And she replied, if you have to ask, you already know. Mic drop. Shout out to Ilonka, you're a legend. Now, that has stuck with me. Now, when I'm uncertain of something and I feel like I need someone to validate it for me, that is usually already my answer. If I don't feel proud about it, I know that I probably have to change it. If something feels off, it probably is. If I have to convince myself too long and too hard, it probably means it's going to be an exhausting and unfulfilling road. Learning is still important. We grow through exposure and trying new things and new ideas and concepts, but at some point we have to filter that through our own knowing and through the lens of our strengths, our values, our goals, and our energy. My favorite quote by Jim Rohn, learn as much as you can, and then make up your own mind. To me, advice is not law. It's a suggestion. It's someone else's map that we can use as a guide, but it's up to us to decide if that's the road we want to travel. And this also ties in with something else I've been reflecting on lately, and that is the importance of honoring your personality. We all have natural strengths and aptitudes, and when you work with those instead of against them, then life becomes fluid and effortless. And of course, it doesn't mean that we never stretch ourselves. For example, maybe you have a powerful message that you want to get out in the world, but you're terrified of public speaking. That's a weakness worth working on because overcoming it supports something meaningful to you. Or if you want to prove something to yourself by doing something you didn't think you could do, more power to you because you are doing it for a specific purpose. But if it doesn't feel good, if it doesn't feel aligned, if you have no desire, for example, to be in the spotlight, if you just want to create, build, and lead quietly from behind the scenes, why waste energy on becoming something that you're not interested in becoming? And I say this in the context of, habits that we're supposed to form and follow, and certain procedures and the way successful people do things. Yes, it's valuable, but that is valuable to them, and you always have to question if it really applies to you. Self-improvement doesn't mean turning yourself into someone else. It means clearing the blocks that stop you from being the ultimate version of yourself. And on that note, there's also a difference between hiding in your comfort zone and living life on your own terms. Because I know you could say that if you just do what feels good, then you're never going to push yourself and you're never going to live outside your boundaries. But that's what I explained before. It is about choosing what is in alignment with your path. It's saying no to something that looks good on the outside but doesn't feel right in the inside. It's trusting that your pace, your style, your way of doing things, even if it's a little unconventional, is still valid and right. Not every hill is worth climbing, and not every battle is yours to fight. You can stretch yourself in the direction that matters to you and let the rest go. One concept from the book Essentialism by Greg McKeown. Should have probably Googled how you pronounce that before recording, but anyway. The question he asks is, if this opportunity wasn't handed to you, how hard would you have fought to get it? If the answer is, I honestly wouldn't have even given it a second look, maybe, just maybe, it's not yours to pursue. Also, another shift that I've made lately is in how I ask for advice and also from whom. So I no longer share every thought with everyone because not everyone's going to get it. And sometimes their reaction, even if it's well-meaning, can shake your confidence or cause you to doubt something that you actually believe in. So just be mindful that the people who you share your thoughts with are qualified to handle them. Another thing is in how we ask advice. So I've started to ask more specific questions now. Instead of saying, do you think this is a good idea? I'd rather ask, does this part make sense to you? Or how would you approach this based on your experience? And I asked people who are already living what I want to create or who are qualified to give advice, and not someone who just has a random opinion. And even then, I take what they say and tweak it and make it mine, because at the end of the day, I'm not them and they are not me. They don't have my personality, my energy, my priorities, and my values. I've also learned to keep my inner circle very small. There aren't many people sitting at my round table anymore. And it is so much more quiet and constructive now. There are so many ways to build a life, a business, a career, or a dream. And some people have certain formulas that work. Others just wing it. Some invent their own process. How you do it doesn't really matter. You don't have to do what's trending. You don't have to follow the 10-step program. You can take the long road. You can take the scenic route. You can take the detour. You can take the dirt path. Just do whatever the hell you enjoy more. Maybe find your own trail. So if you find yourself getting stuck because something isn't how it's supposed to be done, remember, there is no supposed to. There's only what works for you. Start trusting yourself. Just give your voice a bit more power. And if you make the wrong choice, don't even sweat it. Just make a new one and get on with your life, and maybe have a bit more fun in the process. As always, I'm on the road with you, and I'm sure together we'll figure it out. And on that note, let me know your thoughts on this topic. So many of you have such awesome and wise views on life, and I'd really love to hear them all. If you enjoyed this video, a like and subscribe really go a long way and keep me inspired to create more content. I hope you have a beautiful rest of your day or evening, and always stay powered by progress. I'll catch you again in the next one. Bye.